Industries that are hot, sectors set to outperform the market. That's what's here in Zacks Industry Rank Analysis. You ever hear the saying, food is good? Well, this segment may give new meaning to that saying. Charles Rotblatt, our senior market analyst, is here with us. And on his radar this week, you might have guessed it, the food stocks, food industry. It's kind of interesting that you bring that up at this particular juncture. It seems to me, I don't know if you're noticing the same thing, but food prices in the store back on the upswing again?
They are, and that's intentional. We've seen several food companies raise prices. General Mills credited higher food prices for helping their earnings. J.M. Smucker credited higher food prices for helping their earnings. So we have seen food prices going up there. We did have a late planting season this year. Hard to say how that's going to play out in terms of commodity cost. I'm not an ag guy, although I look at the trends. We have seen food prices kind of go up, and that's just really the food companies really came from last year where they were able to push those higher prices. And obviously now everybody's more sensitive to prices simply because of the recession.
And what's good for the consumer and what's good for the investor many times are not the same thing.
Unfortunately not. You know, if you're an investor, you want a company to charge an arm and a leg and still sell as many products as they can.
Right.
Obviously, if you're a consumer, you want to spend as little as possible. So there's always that tug of war. But one thing we are seeing in this current environment is that some people are realizing that they can pay more for certain things, and actually it's worth paying more for certain items and getting better quality. And certainly, if you look at various products, sometimes, especially in the food aisle, sometimes there's no difference between the generic and the brand version. In other products, there's a big difference between the generic and the brand version. Peanut butter, for instance, I talk about Smucker here. I always buy, Jif or Peter Pan or one of the name brand peanut butters over the generic. I just think there's a difference in taste. On the other hand, milk, I'm totally fine buying the generic Jewel or Target brand.
Being the cheapo that I am, I crush my own peanuts. That's how far I go. But anyway, that's a different issue. What is the appeal now of these particular stocks at this particular time?
Well, there's two things. A, we're seeing positive earnings surprises, which is a big factor, and that's why I actually talk about it this week on this week's industry rank. Last week, you had General Mills top expectations. About a week or two before that, we had J.M. Smucker top expectations. I talk about two other food companies that could actually beat when they report late this month. So we are seeing those positive earnings surprises. We're also seeing positive estimate revisions. In the food diversified group, we've seen 47 positive estimate revisions in the last 4 weeks versus just 8 cuts. So we're seeing analysts look at these food companies and realizing they're being too conservative with their earnings estimates and raising the profit forecasts for either the current year or, in the case of General Mills and J.M. Smucker, fiscal 2010.
So what are you expecting to see as Q2 earnings roll out here for this particular group of stocks?
Judging from what I've seen so far, I think we could see more positive surprises. And I think it actually has some good earnings on there. It's important to realize not only are these companies getting away with, better pricing and we don't have the huge commodities bubble that we had last year, you are seeing more people eat at home, seeing more people maybe, trying to brown bag their lunch versus going out and eating. And so all that benefits the companies. A lot of these companies are seeing some increase in volume growth, or what a lot of these companies refer to as pound volume growth. Not huge increases, but still an increase, and you mix that with the higher prices, it's actually setting a stage for higher earnings for them. And as long as we don't have a sharp rally in commodity prices over the next year, particularly in agriculture, these companies should do pretty well.
So will one quarter a trend make, or is it still too early to tell yet?
Well, I think when you look at the full year earnings estimates, it does seem that analysts are expecting the good times to continue for the food companies. We did see General Mills come out with very good guidance for fiscal 2010. Smuckers came out with some very good guidance for fiscal 2010. So we are seeing the trend being laid here for really several more quarters of good earnings.
All right, and Charles did mention a couple of individual food company stocks in his piece. Mentioned them here too. I caught it. I don't know if you did. But if you want more on what he has to say about those two companies, you need to go to the text version of this piece on Zacks.com's homepage. And that is easy to do. You just go to Zacks.com, you scroll down the homepage, and the headline is right under a green banner called Industry Rank Analysis. And it'll give you all of that information. With Charles Rotblatt, I'm Terry Ruffalo.